a lot of players up there making a lot of market moves, right? So let's stick to this weekend's topic of trying to understand finance, since there are a lot of governments, a lot of business people who have currently they do have a lot of access to a lot of resources. So now then they have access as well as everything's been discounted within the markets. So a lot of people are making a lot of moves, right? Let's take a look at try to find some of their moves and what those companies and what kind of moves they are making, because what's happening, they would rather acquire some of the companies if they can, or build their own factories, right, and acquire not necessarily skills knowledge, but to say the least, they would acquire facilities. So let's take a look at some of those companies in particular, perhaps just because of large investments or purchasing that was American as a nation was making from China. So if anything, I don't know if it's news for anyone, but they have a lot of capital, right? So they would like to perhaps diversify and progress into different markets. So I'd like to understand a little bit better what's happening, so we can perhaps acquire some of the knowledge for some of the people out there and how they are manufacturing things. If anything, perhaps we can do things better. So since 2019, Chinese companies have announced investments exceeding 330 billion across Europe, including so 30 billion, right? Would it be including large manufacturing facilities like Envision, IESC in France and UK, as well as Catalyst in Hungary. So if anything, this is where, from my understanding, where some of those companies out there are looking to acquire some of those markets, right? Car manufacturing companies, so for building their facilities. Not necessarily has to be limited to car. If anything, they would have facilities. In those facilities, they can fulfill the different market needs. I don't know, one day they're building cars, next day they're building tanks, next day they're building airplanes, next day they're building whatever. They have facility, they have skills, they have expertise, they have knowledge, and perhaps they can keep sending some of the resources to those facilities instead of what was highlighted recently with some of those meetings taking place in some of the regions like Global South, uh, Africa region, not necessarily limited to Africa, whatever that means. They have highlighted they have a lot of resources, right? So they are taking notice of what other countries are doing, right? So they're building out facilities and we keeping hold of the resources. And instead of earning 10% on the resources, perhaps they're earning more by using those resources to manufacture and supplying the supply chain is a little bit larger supply chain, right? If anything, slightly larger supply chain so they can actually manufacture and fulfill the needs of consumers, right? Once they do those, they can have larger returns on the investment as well as how they're gonna look to achieve that. I'm gonna touch on US and I will jump into China just in a second. Let's take a look at what Ford is doing, right? The first factory for fully electric vehicles in Romania, Europe, is opening up soon. The Romanian city, uh, Craiova, announced today, 27th of April 2021, so some time ago, a new investment of 248 million euros, which is a drop in the bucket for some of those companies. Just a drop. They prefer to keep a hold of the market, right? But either way, how much resources they can have access to, perhaps ROI with whatever that can make. So if they take out a loan from a government for interest rate of, I don't know, we're guessing here, right, 5%, 6%, right? So if they can build out that factory as well as keep a hold of the market share, as well as make 40% on top of that investment, they can fulfill the loan that they made for U.S. government of 70%, and they can pocket the difference of, I don't know, 30% or so, depending on how successful they're gonna be. But again, for large, they just made the investment, if anything, right? of 248 million euros to the consortium of new light commercial vehicles factory funded by Ford Motors Company. It will be a first full volume Ford electric vehicle factory built in Romania and the third in Europe. Ford will begin production of its latest light commercial vehicles, Craiova, in 2023. So this year they should begin doing that, followed by fully electric version in 2024. Next year is going to be fully electric, so which is great. We can fulfill market share. Myself, I might be interested in investing in some of those companies based on how smart those companies are, and they're making their purchasing decisions, and they're acquiring a lot of deals up there. They know what to do with the capital. Smart people, smart people. What can I say? As well, purchasing some of those battery technologies perhaps and offering a lot of value to Romanian people, which is most important thing. They're giving them jobs. And they charging them instead. Perhaps in China, you can buy the same vehicle for $5,000 or whatever. They can buy the same vehicle built in Europe for 40,000. free, free market economics. If anything, I like that. I like it. People are making a big moves of that. Full range of zero emission vehicles. The company pledged in February it is full range of zero emission commercial vehicles, all electric or plug-in hybrids will be available, but because of the infrastructure, right? So if it's full electric, I'm not entirely sure where the companies are. I have taken a look at the map. So it's currently in the process as well. There's a lot of contracts up there for people to grab up there who are up there interested in setting up all the infrastructure, right? So perhaps in terms of consumers, they would have a lot of benefits, lifetime value of having access to electric vehicles, power stations, as well as a lot of subsidies from the government right now. Depending on where you live, sometimes it can be 40-50% of the entire cost of setting up all the infrastructure, or for perhaps operating on fully electric vehicles. And it drives economy. People are there working, doing things, which is great, as well as some of the companies, large players up there, what kind of moves they are making, right? So perhaps instead of paying whatever is gasoline price right now, petrol price right now, so I don't know what's a barrel, right? It's over 100 right now, so 150 or so. I don't know what's happening. But Romania, based on its geography, when Romania is not too far from large deposits, right? So it's not very far. So perhaps I don't know, but there's an options there on the table. So people they can make conscious decisions where they would like to spend their money. They prefer electric vehicle. They when traveling, setting up of infrastructure, there's more options on the table. So they can, instead of everyone has to drive that kind of car, power it with that, or they can pick and choose what kind of cars, and as well as the different options available, as well as perhaps workforce. Depends, right? Let's take a look at some of those investments that are currently been made by Chinese companies. I have covered U.S. companies already, and some of those investments are made in different countries, including Poland, other places, right? Germany. How many investments? Gigafactories. They're doing a lot of things, right? So we're sharing here very balanced opinion. So, because there's a lot of I don't know, a lot of people out there. Either way, let's take a look at Hungary, right? And if anything, I'm supporting that. I'm behind it, I guess, because some of those companies, especially technology companies, we should have more options, if anything, as well as not necessarily we should limit ourselves to just have access to some of those service providers, handful, right? So there might be more service providers up there who are looking to invest in building infrastructure in Europe, and starting with having a foothold. We're starting with, if anything, with Hungary. That's where we're starting, right? Where U.S. companies might start with Ireland, which is kind of strange. We had a foothold in Ireland and we progressed from there. So we're looking at Hungary and how some of those companies looking to progress from there. And some of those articles that I managed to find of one of the biggest ever investments in history from China coming into Hungary, and everyone's questioning what Hungary is doing well to receive that finance, which is kind of interesting thing to take a look at. That. Contemporary Amperex Technology Ltd, Chinese biggest electric vehicle battery maker, announced it will build a 7.34 billion euro or 50 billion, over 50 billion yuan battery plant in Hungary. Once built, it will set to be Europe's largest battery cell plant. Hungary said that it will be the biggest ever greenfield investment in the history of Hungary. Some region media claim Hungary got the biggest ever investment in history because it's supporting China. Okay, so it's definitely not putting any strains on China. So that's perhaps the beginning. So they're not. So that's a start, right? It's not necessarily supporting. I don't know about supporting, but they're not there looking for additional investment. So they bring in more jobs, more opportunities, perhaps. So then they're not looking to, in any way, perhaps. Sanction China in order to so for their companies to look better. No case might be. Which is a bit sour, while verbally saying no, they have paid high attention to investment trends in China companies. I don't know, I don't know. So there's a lot of diverse opinions up there, which is great, I guess. So Ireland is supporting U.S. companies. That means so because Ireland is receiving so much funding from all the U.S. companies, and now it seems like Hungary is receiving a lot of funding from Asian companies, which is great, I guess. I don't know. So now, so this is what's happening, right? Let's take a look. Why did Hungary attract investment from Capital? CATL, or full name would be Contemporary Perex Technology, and how that happened. Anyone with discriminant eyes can tell what is perfectly normal business decision. The geographical location within the heart of Europe, to some extent, in terms of logistics, perhaps they have really good logistic hubs as well as warehousing, a large workforce, many things, right? So if you need to fight against with other top in industry that we're looking for would be perhaps the battery technologies, everything. So they might have skills, so they just need additional investments, and they not necessarily need to compete within that particular country with other giants. As I mentioned within this video, some of the US companies investing in different countries within Europe, but not necessarily in this, so they're not competing, right, again. So this is what's happening, right? Which a good industrial support base, allowing Chinese companies in Hungary to be closer to their European customers and be able to respond to their needs in a timely manner. More critically, Hungary offers Chinese companies predictability in terms of policy and business environment, so it would be a less risky environment, right, compared to someone who flip-flop, right? So later you left holding on to, I don't know, over 7 billion. That's a lot of risk, right? So they're looking to reduce risk. Hungary, the first country in Europe to sign memorandum of understanding with China on jointly building a belt of road, because there are some countries up there as they might suffer a lot of pressure coming from west, as Italy has recently. So they are flip-flopping on Belt and Road. So Italy is flip-flopping. Perhaps they just need to put their things together, right? I don't know. I don't know. But Hungary, they receive funds, right? Perhaps instead of Italy, Hungary received it. I don't know. I don't know. So leadership of the initiative has offered Chinese companies a lot of preferential policies for their investment as a result of a number of Chinese companies investing in Hungary. Has accounted to increase over the past 2 years. The scale of investment has also remain high, with bilateral trade between China and Hungary increasing by over 34%. I don't know, year on year in 2021. Not longer ago, NIO, a Chinese electric vehicle maker, announced its first overseas factory in Hungary, and it joined level to put into operations the first European manufacturing facilities in the country. So there are a lot of players of that high-end technology. It would be cars, perhaps software as well as hardware. So they looking to have a foothold, right? As well as other countries within the U.S. have noticed that perhaps they would have shrinking market share, so they begin investments. So some of those investments I mentioned, that they begin building infrastructure, Microsoft, Intel, how they're building within Germany, within Poland, and how billions, how many billions are investing in those regions as well. Just so they're keeping same market share, and they so I don't know. There would be more options for house that will benefit consumers. In the end of the day, perhaps if you need to overpaying, if you currently as a end consumer you're overpaying for cars, if you're overpaying for perhaps I don't know, cars, phones, what you are overpaying other software, some of the software solutions you are overpaying for, there might be more options as well as free market economics. I know what people are doing out there to support the different initiatives. People out there who are interested in learning more, I have published this book, Livestock Enterprise. In this book, I'm sharing a lot of information with the people out there who are interested in setting up their own first business, as well as reaching, if anything, reaching your first milestone. That will be a very entry level and where to begin. A first milestone would be the first 10,000, so that would be finance, right? So how you can achieve that and make your profits go up all the way to a first milestone. Hopefully that would be just the beginning of your journey, and this book is very niche, so it will focus on this industry as well as how to achieve this milestone. So it's something that I'm sharing a lot of information within this book for all the people who are interested in finding out more. Hopefully it could benefit a number of people. If anything, we should have, if anything, cheaper food prices. So there should be more competition with the different markets, free market, so people can do whatever they want, especially helping people to go about their food and how expensive it can be. You can find it in the description below, as well as Top Retailers has it. Uh, this company named Contemporary Perex Technologies Ltd. They most likely have made a lot of investments in the US, so it's not the first time that they're making international investments. But if anything, just to summarize this video, would be this company chose Hungary to build a factory this time. It's isolated case, but also a phenomenon with wider and inspiring significance, as some Europeans and US forces are increasingly clamoring to scramble investments from China throughout policy lens. Budapest insists on the rational and pragmatic, not binding, following the avoiding its own national interest to be hijacked by others, political motivations and beer. So hijacked. What does hijack mean? So instead of going with the U.S. Perhaps as hijacking, or U.S. already have a lot of facilities. So I'm not entirely sure what they're trying to suggest with hijacking and why we need to bring U.S. into the picture. Why we need to discuss U.S. in the first place or compare against something, right? So to understand or having a full picture. The stability and predictability of investment environment has paid Hungary's ambassadors to China said Hungary is proud to be the main entry point. I would say foothold in military terms, so, because they are fighting up there for scrambling for market share, as well as we have a lot of access to a lot of finance up there. So a lot of players currently are looking for and shopping for deals, if anything. So that's what's really happening. A large Chinese enterprise into Europe, healthy and safety. Steady China-Europe relationship include trade relations conduct to both sides and the world. The two sides should meet each other halfway to promote trade cooperation, including providing more entry points for Chinese entrepreneurs into Europe and connecting dots. So, if anything, myself, if I would try to set up a company in China, I would prefer I could do it, right? So, if they would like to do it, great. Then I would try to set up a company. Whoever is watching this video, I hope there will be options there as well, so I could do it. So why not? If that could benefit people out there, and we can all be very rational about how we're doing and what we're doing. But it depends, right? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.